Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We want to welcome you here to Smackdown Catfishing. I'm one of your hosts, Stacy Gass, and along with Joey Kirby tonight. And we got another Joey in the house with us. He is a famous flathead catfisherman. I think he's located over here around Mississippi. Some of y'all may know him. If you don't know him, you've heard about him or seen his picture in the post office probably. But we got him in here with us tonight here on Smackdown Catfishing. And we've talked about blue catfish for the last 5 or 6 episodes, but we're going to get into something that I've got a passion for, and I know this guy here has. We was thinking about going in a different direction and getting off of the blue cats and getting on something else. And I was thinking, who is one of the guys that's in the forefront of catching these flathead catfish? And as far as I know down here in the South, I don't know of a better guy than this guy right here by the name of Joey Pounder. So I want y'all to welcome him to the show. Joey, welcome and good for being with us, man.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to get ready to get started in a minute. I want to put up a few things here. I know some of y'all already know this. If you want to be available for a drawing tonight, we're going to have 2 of them that we're going to do. We're going to give away a pack of nocturnal hooks from Corey Hauser. And we're also going to give away another one of these snag sticks. I want to tell you, for the last several years, I've been pulling and trying to wrapping my line around everything I could and wrapping around my hands. And this thing here is just a handy little old thing. So we're going to give one of them away tonight. So if you're just in the chat, and I want you to type in the word SDC, do it one time in the chat and mash enter, because that's what we're going to be looking for tonight as we start the drawing or the giveaway on that. I want to also give a shout out. He didn't ask us to, but I'm telling you, Joey, I got to break my jersey in.
They're nice. They're nice. You looking good, Stacy. Yeah, I like them. They're nice.
Yeah, Eddie and Ann White from Fish Hard Industries. They made these things, and they are really, really nice. So any of y'all guys looking for a jersey, I would recommend that you contact these guys, get a hold to him. Eddie White is on Facebook. I'm telling you, harass him on Facebook tonight. Tell him y'all want a jersey, and if you ask where all of them comes from, tell him that y'all was talking about it on Smackdown Catfishing. Without any further ado, Joey, what you got? You got anything you want to say tonight before we get started?
Actually, I'd like to, my dad is probably watching. Wish him a happy 68th birthday today, and welcome Joey Pound for Pound Pounders to the show. And we done picked him for a lot of knowledge that we told him not to share on here. So let's get it on, I guess, Stacy. Start picking his brain.
Joey, we're going to be fishing. I want to say this before we even get the show started. Listen, my anxiety level is at like 9.5 now. Tomorrow this time it'll be off the chart, because I'm telling you, my boat's locked, loaded, and ready, because we are going to spend us at least 3 or 4 or 5 days on Wheeler, Wilson, and we're going to be after flatheads, blue cats, whatever, hook into that hook right there is what I plan on. We putting the smackdown on something come this week. And Joey, I don't know my anticipation, because this time last year is when we have put several fish over 70 pounds in the boat. And so I've been looking back forward to this time of the year. This a year ago from Sunday, far as the time, is when we landed a 103-pounder and had another one on that I would guess it would be 80 plus that broke off there at the boat.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, he's got my hook in his mouth. That's another one that's got my hook, and I'm going to go get my hook back.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people say they during around hunting time they get buck fever. Well, I think I got some blue cat fever right now, so I'm right there with you, buddy. I'm ready to go, and I believe you caught the 103-pounder, and I caught a 75, and I think we brought Dale up, and he caught a 70, and those are legit 103 pounders and 75 pounders and 70 pounders. There was no guesstimating.
They
was
some
legit.
Big fish. Yes, they were.
It was a good time.
We're fixing to get into
fish like that.
We're ready.
It's hard. Hey, guys, we're fixing to get into this tonight. We got Joey Pounders on here. If you're down here around the South and keep up with flathead catfishing, I want you would, before we even get started, share this right here. Tag a couple of friends because you're not going to want to miss the information that this guy is fixing to share. And what he don't share, we're going to try to pick it out of in the best way that we possibly can. Joey, welcome in. The first thing that I want to ask you, Joey, in flathead catfishing, that's been a passion of mine for the several years, is if you're fishing, get ready to go somewhere and going to go to a body of water, one is a couple of things. Maybe you're getting out of the water. Maybe it's before you get on the water. If it would be me, I'm wanting to get on the water and see what just is there. So what is it that you're looking for, specific things?
I love fishing rock walls. I love fishing blue rock walls. And I love fishing isolated trees. A lot of people really like to fish, a bank that may have 10 or 15 trees over there. And it's just so hard to isolate fish in them trees. But if you have that one tree that's isolated out in the middle of the lake, maybe 100 yards, 200 yards from anything else, chances are you've kind of really narrowed the fish down to where they can be at. If you don't see them, necessarily stacked up anywhere else, they could be right there in that tree. Rock walls and blue rock walls, I like fishing those for two reasons. One, usually there's a straight drop off of them, and it's going to be 15 to 30 foot deep. Second of all, if you look up, you're going to see a tree line on most of those walls. If a tree falls off one of those walls, it's going to be face down in that water. And so then you're giving the fish two parts of cover. You're giving them the rock walls, and you're giving them the tree to hide behind. So it kind of makes it a little easier on you when you see that root ball going down in the water. You can get right against that root ball and fish that rock wall or that blue rock wall in that tree. So,
Joey, have you ever had any experience with the clay rock walls? Do you ever fish around the more red clay walls? Do you ever fish around them?
I will. It really matters what kind of current. If it's in the bend. I like fishing really, some of the rock walls will go 15 to 23 to 36 to 42. I like those drops right there because they're sitting right there on the shelf. If a clay wall will give me a shelf or something like that, maybe a 16 to a 22 or so on, then it will interest me to fish.
Now, let me ask you this. When you're looking for these flatheads, are you is there a depth that you like over anything else, or not really, or you're just looking for that structure and stuff?
It depends on the lake that you're fishing, of course. If you're fishing the Tom Bigby River, a 30-foot hole is deep here. Mm-hmm. If you're fishing the Tennessee River, 60 or 70 is not unheard of. Just because of bait purposes, I really don't like to fish no deeper than 45. Mm-hmm. And I will fish as shallow as 15. But if I fish 15, I've got to get away from 15. I got to get away from where I'm fishing at. I don't want them to see the shadow of the boat. I don't want them to hear me, things of that nature. So I'm going to get away, and then it makes it a little bit harder to pull them fish out of 15 foot of water because you're not necessarily vertically, just right over them like you would be in 30 or 40 foot of water.
Now, Joe, I want to cover this right here because I think this is probably, you made mention of the depth of the water where you fish at. And, people hear us talk sometimes, and we may be on the Tennessee River or somewhere where there is 70 to 80 foot of water, and we talk about catching fish in 70, 80 foot of water, then people will make the comment, well, there's not that deeper water where we're at. I think what people they need to realize the body of water that they're fishing on, 70, 80 foot of water is not there. But you got to look at what is deep there.
Right.
And if it's 40 foot, well, that is a deep hole for that lake. And
That's
I think some people get a mindset. Well, he said he caught him in 70 foot of water. And there is no 70 foot of water on our lake. Well, that fish can't swim to the Tennessee River to get in 70 foot of water. He's in that body of water, and he's going to be in that deep hole or that shadow place in whichever body of water he's in.
That's right. And a lot of times where we've got a certain, maybe a few 40-foot holes around our house, and everybody says, oh, the hole by the cypress trees down there. Man, we can wear them out. The hole is not by the cypress trees. The hole is right down where it's 27 foot deep, and there's a cypress tree in the water down there. He's in the cypress tree in 27 foot of water, not in the 40 foot of water that everybody's concentrating on. So you also want to look for cover for these fish. They love cover. They love it.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you this. When we're looking for this, because there's a couple things that when I'm flathead fishing, I love to look for cover. And I tell you, a big thing of mine is I love creek, little small openings, or whether it be an opening to a slough or opening to a creek channel coming out. I fish on the Alabama River a lot. And fishing over here, there's just a little bitty ditches that come in and maybe are all set, but sloughs that's coming in and just a mouth, where the mouth of it comes out there. I've had really good success around these little pockets like that. Let me ask you this right here, Joey. When you're going, do you anchor fish? Is that correct? And when you're doing this for these flatheads?
That's correct. I call it aggressive anchoring because I'm there about 20-25 minutes, give or take.
Just sort of hitting and moving from one place to the other.
That's right. Just basically, I'll mark 15 spots that I'm just really confident on, and I may sit on only 7 or 8 spots if they're biting. But I should know if there's a flathead in that hole in 25 minutes. I should get him out of there if he's aggressive, if he wants to bite. I can lay there all day, but, in tournaments, we may not have all day. If you're fun fishing, you do, but in tournaments, I may not have all day. I gotta give you what I've got, and if you don't like it after 25 minutes, I gotta go.
Do you prefer spot locking or throwing the anchor? What do you normally do, Joey?
I really don't like throwing an anchor at all.
Gotcha.
Obvious reason I don't want to pull that sucker up.
Right. Well, there's a lot of people that don't, that may not understand when you say anchor versus, the spot lock option. Some of them may not have it. So you would prefer if you had spot lock to spot lock on them. That way you can get in and get out pretty quick.
True. And another reason too is when you throw that anchor down there, we've all been in the river swimming before, and we all go up underwater, and then we hear this boat 2 miles downriver coming, and you raise up and you think that boat's on me, and you raise up and he's 2 miles away from you. You're like, man, I can hear that motor real good. I have to believe when we throw an anchor down there, and most of us have a chain on that anchor, that it makes a rattle, and it's just not normal for them fish when they hear something like that. And I think you can scare them out of there. Even if you're 150 feet up from that, throwing that anchor, I feel like they can hear it. I'm trying to get the best ratio when it comes to flathead fishing. I'm not saying it matters. I'm just saying it's just something I'd rather not do if I can get away from it.
So Joey, when you're getting ready to set up on this fish, you may mention to us that instead of riding over him, that there's a way that you sort of go around about anchoring on him. Can you go a little bit of detail about that?
I've noticed that when I know there's a fish there, I feel like in my heart, I guess I use a lot of gut feeling because I will scan, and I'm in tournament mode right here. I will scan all day Friday and look for a bunch of spots, and I'll say, man, that's a 3-star spot, that's a 4-star spot, that's a 5-star spot. I have a 1 to 5 scale. And when I get to that spot and I'm thinking this is a 3 to a 5 spot, I'm not even going to look and see if he's in that tree. There's no point in me scanning over there. If I have 5 spots that are 3 to 5 star, I'm going to catch a fish out there and maybe 5 fish. So what I want to do is cut my outboard off when I get close within, let's say, 150, 200 feet at least. And I want to come around that spot, whether I be up current, down current or whatnot. I want to come around that spot with my trolling motor. I might even tie it to the bank, but I don't want my outboard running anywhere around that spot. Them fish normally hear boats running up and down, so I don't think it bothers them as much, but I still don't want to have that outboard running. Just because it's a 4-stroke and it sounds good, topside don't mean it don't sound like, a V8 down below.
Yes, sir. Now, Joey, I want you to share with the people here, because this is probably, we've shared a lot of our techniques and our setups on catching on catching blue cats. I want you to share with them what is your setup for as your line, your leaders. How do you do that? Your weights.
I try to use as light as weight as possible because I don't want that fish feeling any kind of restriction. So I'm usually 3 ounces, give or take. If there's some current, up to 4, 5, 6 ounces. But I really don't fish very heavy current for flatheads. I use a 3-way swivel. So 65 to 80 pound test coming to that 3-way swivel. Come off one of the 3 ways, and it's about 18 inches of a hook line. 60 pound test, 50 or 60 pound test. And then I come off there with a weight line about 4 foot. If it's deeper, I'd say if I'm 40 or 50 foot deep, I'm going to go 5 to 6 foot deep. So usually about 4.5 to 5 foot is my weight line. Now, what's going to happen is everybody thinks, well, 4.5 minus 18, well, you're going to be, 4.5 feet minus 18 inches, you're going to be about 2.5, 3 feet off the ground. Not true. Because you think about if you're pulling at an angle and you're throwing out from your boat and you throw out 65 or 70 feet, by the time you pull that weight and you pull it up, that bait may only be 6 inches to a foot off the bottom. So that's why I like to use an elevated rig. And another reason is because we're fishing a lot of trees. And I may throw on one side of the tree, and that tree may be right on the bottom. And that fish may be on this side of the tree, on the left side of the tree. But my bait's on the right side. If I've got it elevated, he can feel that vibration. But if that bait is on the bottom, he's never going to feel it. He's never going to see it. And he might not even smell it. So I'm trying to elevate that bait so he can see over the structure. That bait's over the structure. He's over this tree. Or it just, to me, the fish's eyes on top of his head, it gives me a better chance for him to see it.
Well, that's a good idea, because that's a good technique. I've never thought about having that bait suspended up off that bottom as high as what you're doing it.
Well, and another reason is too is like I was saying earlier. If you take that bait, let's just say you fish with him for 15 or 20 minutes, and you bring him in and you got him on the hook, and you say, "I'm just going to throw him in the live well." Look at that bait in the live well with the hook in him. He's just down the bottom. You can barely tell he's got a pulse. He's not going to be swimming all that good. But if you was to pick him up, just pick him up, and he's going to start shaking. And if he can just do a little bit of that shaking down there below in 20 or 30 foot of water, you might have some magic happen. So that's what I'm looking for, and that's what I'm trying to do with that.
Hey, let me stop right here just 1 second. I want to get to Michael Pence. We're going to save this question for last, Michael, about the bait versus live or cut bait. So just stay here with us. We'll have this in just a little bit. We think this is probably one of the most important things. Joey, do you use circle hooks, or what kind of hooks you use?
I used to use J hooks long time ago, 10 years ago, and I thought that was the way to go. And I started using circle hooks, and ever since then, I've caught the biggest fish. I guess you go back 10 years ago, I wasn't catching as big, and now, you're catching some trophy-sized flatheads. Now, you're losing some of them, but my rate is probably a little higher using the circle hooks than the J hooks.
And I'm gonna share this about the hooks. And I would tell people, when I went to looking for hooks and probably changing up, I would say probably somewhere 10 years ago or 12, I really started to experiment with something besides J hooks. So that's all. We didn't know there was even no other hook exist. That's all we knew. Go to Walmart and get some, and that's what we fish with. And I started experimenting, and I would encourage people, try when you get something. What I've done is if I was fishing with 5 or 6 reels, rods, I'd have 3 or 4 different kind of hooks on there. And I just experimented to the one I seen that got the most hookups. And people ask me, said, why you love that hook? I said, because it seemed to get the hookups.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
I fished with a bunch of friends that's used, a number of brands and stuff like that. And I think that as a whole, even when they're on the boat, I think the circle hooks have always done better. Now, my dad, he's gonna have a J hook. That's all there is to it. He ain't ever going to a circle hook. He's gonna jerk that fish. He's gonna set the hook. It's just the way it is. He ain't ever gonna get out of it. So,
well, if you fish with me, I fish with that. I call it that hybrid hook. It's that kale type hook. I fish with a mad now, and somebody asked me, said, why? I said, because from years ago, when the pole went over, my daddy would always say, son, try to cross his eyes. Well, I've never got that out of my system.
Yep. And he does. He crosses
and listen,
their eyes.
when he goes down with it, I'm going to grab it and hit him, buddy.
I still love doing it. Don't get me wrong. If I pick his pole up, I still go back to it. I try to set the hook. I try to get that one jerk in, and hopefully it'll set me up for a good year or so. But yeah, it's just it's really worked out good using them circle hooks. The thing that a lot of people tell me they don't think they're getting the flathead bites, and really what happens is I guess I don't want to go into too much detail here, but those flatheads are kind of looking at you, and they're looking at your boat. And so when they grab it, they're just nibbling on that bait, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do. What I'm trying to do is work that fish. So I may pick up my pole if he messes with it over 30 seconds or so, and I'm just kind of messing with the line a little bit, and I'm trying to get him to turn his head, to go into the cover, left or right. But a lot of times, a fish will just grab that bait and just back into the cover. So everybody thinks they're getting a light bite. They may have a 50-pound flathead on. You just got to be a little bit more patient and let that fish take it.
Hey, Joy, let's cover this because I think this is a very, very good topic here. That for years, if you was fishing, and I've had people on the boat with me, and we're sitting there, we're trying to catch flatheads, and the rod tip just eases over and eases back. And I've had people tell me, so that's a little one. I said, man, just hang on. And I think that people haven't come accustomed. That flathead, sometimes they're so finicky. Have you seen where them things is, man? I'm like, is he ever going to take this thing?
Gallatin, Tennessee. It is the slowest flathead bite in America. I mean, it will take you upwards at 2 minutes to get the fish in, to hook him once he starts biting, because they will grab it and they'll just let it go. They'll grab it and they'll just let it go. And they may do it a half a dozen times. They may do it a dozen times. It just works you. I mean, you may have 3 fish in the boat. You're sitting there thinking, he's got it. I got to get this 4th and 5th fish in the boat. And you want to pull back on them so bad, but you just got to really just got to stick with the technique and just understand what's going on, and just do what you can and hold back. And just when he turns around, they're so strong. Even a 5-pound flathead can carry a pole. He's on there once he does.
Yeah, I've always told the guys that's been in the boat with me, and that rod tip will go over 6 inches, and it'll hold there for a minute, and they want to grab it. I'm like, man, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Yeah. And I says, and I've had to work. My problem is after done fish for 4 or 5 hours and ain't had a bite, and all of a sudden it starts to move, my anxiety gets a hold to me. And sometimes I do prematurely reach over there and grab it, but I'm like, I want to let him load my pole up. And I'm like, don't touch it until he buries it. Because I'm telling you, a flathead, he's got some power.
Oh, they're unbelievably strong. I mean, but another thing that I do is probably what you're not supposed to do, but it works for me, is that when you're getting that bite that you're talking about right there, if he keeps on doing that and I can't get him to load up, I will pick that pole up and I will work him. I will just give it to him a little bit and I'll pull it back. Because what may happen is that brim or that shad or whatever you're using, he may be against a tree and he's trying to grab it and he can't grab it. But if you move it against it, away from that limb or away from that brush, he may be trying to grab it. You might see something happen really quick right there. If you're just kind of working him back and forth, you're just trying to give him a little slack. It's worked out for me a bunch of times.
Now, there's something else that I do sometimes when I see that flathead grab it and he pulls it over, let's say 8 inches on the rod tilt, and I feel like he starts to feel some pressure, and you see him let go of it. It eases back up. I will reach and hit my release button and put my clicker on. I'm like, the next time I want him to grab it, I want him to start taking a little bit of it. And I don't know if that makes a difference, but my mindset is maybe he felt some of this tension that's here, and I like to just give him a little bit more of it. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on there, but I'm trying to work him and try to make him take it. I know that.
I agree 100%. I'm just doing something a little different. I don't have clickers. I'm using old school spinning reels. I used to use bait clickers, Boo Garcia 6500s, and they're great reels. But I went back to using 10-foot rods and using spinning reels, and I can take that 10-foot rod and I can theoretically give him 7 or 8 foot of slack just by putting the tip down. Mm-hmm. And so I can work him back and forth. But you'll see me a lot of times if you ride by me, I may have that pole in my hand and I'm not hung, I'm working a fish. It happens a lot of times. There's
another thing I learned this from Joey. I don't know if he knows, but I'm telling you, I've been watching things, and when that fish is just sitting there, and you see him just sort of pull it over a little bit, I've reached right there and put my hand up under the line, on my rod, and just pull my line to me 6 inches or 8 inches, and just ease it back. And I'm just moving that bait, just, it ain't moving much, but I'm moving that bait just a little bit with my finger on that line and just seeing what he's going to do. I seen Joey Kirby do that right there, and I says, you know what, on them little thing, when they start finicky, I just reach there and pull my line to me a little bit and ease it back, and it seems, I don't know what goes on. I don't know if he thinks it's starting to move away from him and he comes up as a little bit more aggressive. I don't know what he's doing, but it seems to work.
Yeah, I think he's probably just feeling vibration, or he's just, they're territorial to me. They are. And I think that even if he's a 5-pound flathead, sometimes they feel like they're the alpha. And anything that gets in their way, they're going to try to take out, So a lot of my baits just get killed. They'll just come up and thump it one time and they won't touch it no more.
Yeah.
They just feel like you're not going to be in my area alive. I don't even want to eat you, but you're not going to live.
Yeah.
So Joey, you cast around a lot? Joey, when you, I know you said you spot lock a lot. So when you're spot locking, you're not necessarily just suspending. You throw a few out also on each side of the tree, or try to.
When I spot lock, usually I'm not gonna. Very few times have I fished straight down from me if I'm spot locking. Usually gotcha. I'm usually a true anchor, and I'll put a drift sock out the back and keep that boat from going side to side.
Gotcha.
What I'll do is say that if I see the tree and I see, let's say I'm at the base of the root ball and the tree's 60 foot long, I will throw 2 to the side. I'll throw 2 to the middle, for the outside of the tree, and then I'll throw 2 to the back of the tree. So we're 6 rods. And every 7 minutes, so let's say I'm there for 20, 25 minutes, every 7 minutes, I'm going to come in 5 or 10 feet. 5 or 10 feet.
Yep.
I'm dragging back to me. Yes, I'm going to probably get hung. 75 cents a tackle is worth a 75-pound fish any day. All right?
Yeah.
And another thing is, too, if you're spot locking, turn the trolling motor off once you're finished fishing right there. Drift back. Get over the top of your baits or your hook, your line or whatever, and just pull up vertically, and usually it's going to come out. When you're dragging back in, you're probably going to get hung. But using that spot lock is beneficial because you can go back to where your baits is and go directly over and pull them out of there.
I do that as well, Joey. Even if I'm, especially winter fishing or something, if I go over an area and I know there's fish around there, like anchoring in the wintertime in good current, I have to throw my anchor. So if I know fish are around, I'll throw 6 or 8 rods out, and every 10 minutes or so, I'm notorious about reeling it in 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 foot. And a lot of times you'll eventually find them fish. If you know them fish are scattered out, don't just throw it out and then reel it in 15 minutes and throw it in another spot. Work it back to you a little bit, and a lot of times you'll feel that structure. If you hit it or something, just stop and leave it right there on that structure, or a little dip or whatever, or whatever. And I catch a lot of fish by just reeling it in a little bit at a time.
How many times have you been hammered as soon as you reel it in and you stop? How many people just don't understand that? How many times you've just been hammered as soon as you reel in and you stop for a split second? I've had them about take the pole out of the rock. Right.
Feel for that structure, and as soon as don't get it and start just reel it in a little bit. If you know there's stuff around there, dips or structures, as soon as you feel it, stop. And that's
guys, let's get a timeout right here. Joey, let's do this right here. Let's do a giveaway tonight. We got Corey Hauser with Nocturnal Hooks, and we want to give away a couple packs of hooks, guys. You can contact him on Facebook Messenger, and he has these. I'm gonna put his information up here. So we want to give you a chance to win something here. You can just contact him. He sells several different types and styles of hooks, and just contact him and tell him what kind you would like to try, and he will be glad to do that. Joey, one of y'all give me a number between 1 and 7. Go ahead, Kirby.
Let Joey do it. I'm gonna look through here at some of the questions while he gives you a number and stuff.
Number 3. Let's do number 3 right here. Y'all give me just a second.
Joey, braid or mono?
Braid.
Do you think you can use your technique off for bank fishermen as far as your setup?
That's how I come up. That's how
okay.
I was raised. Off the
all right. John Patrick, Stacy, and I both are big fans of that offshore angler leader. We use it for leader line. Stacy uses it for his main line. There was another question in here that I'm trying not to. People saying Roger Dement's telling you your secret's out, Joey. So, there's lots of people in here.
Well, have them fire away. I don't mind answering anything. Somebody's there to answer my question back in the day, so I don't mind answering anybody else's.
There was another one here that I can't find now, but we'll get back to him in a little bit. If y'all have any questions, shoot them in here, and we'll get them to him before he leaves. So, all right, Stacy, who's the lucky winner?
He's watching us here tonight on Facebook, and his name is Jimmy Taylor. So Jimmy, if you would, you can contact Corey Hauser. He is on Facebook. There's his name there on the screen. So contact him. You can contact him by messenger and tell him you was the winner tonight on SmackDown Catfishing. We're going to get back into one more thing here, and we're going to give away a snag stick tonight, the last thing. And I think this is probably the most, to me, Joey, you may not think so, but I think this is probably the most important thing about flathead catfishing, and that's going to be the bait. Can you share with us some things about that? Is that your same thoughts too?
On the bait, absolutely. I mean, that takes me to the next level. Working very hard to get the right bait. I think there's just no substitute, for that. You talked about skipjack and how you need it fresh. I'm the same way with bait. I want the right bait, not just bait, right bait. So,
let me ask you this, Joy. Did you prefer, live bait, cut bait, or what is your idea on that?
If I'm fishing, let's say Tennessee River or Mississippi River, I will have some live bait on the boat. I would say half and half. I'm going to have some skipjack. If you see me on the Coosa, Alabama River, Gallatin, Old Hickory Lake or whatnot, or Cumberland River, any of those rivers, I'm throwing live bait. I know everybody else is throwing skipjack. Everybody else is throwing steak. I'm trying to throw chicken. And so I'm trying to give a different bait and also a different presentation than they are. So I'm live bait probably 100% of the time, really, on all them tournaments right there.
I don't, I'm going to share this right here, Joey, because I think that there's a lot of people that think that you just got to have live bait. And I'm a big live bait man. I mean, I love it, but I have caught just as many and just as big of flatheads on some kind of fresh cut bait. Have you experienced that, or I mean, what do you think about that?
When we fish current, and it's hard to keep live bait alive in current, we'd have to hook it through the bottom of their eyes if it's shad, and keep them with the current. We can't hook them in the tail like we normally like to do. Mm-hmm. If we're fishing current and we cut off those heads, so skipjack heads, big old, shad heads or something like that, for some reason, heads and fillets, no chunks or nothing like that. I never catch them off that, but heads and fillets, I don't know what it is, but yes, we will and we can. So
one of my favorite baits, if I'm flathead catfishing, and I've caught a lot of, and it's been pretty consistent. I love shad, and I'd love to have me some 6 or 7 inches long, and I don't really have to have him live. I just want him fresh, and I will actually take that thing and will just fillet it, start at his tail, and run my knife all the way up to his gill plate, and just take it out, and it just sitting there flapping, and I hook that fish right between the eyes or right between the bottom and upper lip and throw him out there. And I got a leader there about 2.5 foot long, and I'm like, he just sitting there in the current doing this right here. I think that's what he's doing anyhow.
Yeah.
But I've had good success with that.
I've experimented, and I know that, and I'm not saying that you can't go out there and do that. I'm not saying that anybody couldn't go out there and catch them like that. I don't know, with my technique and maybe my presentation hasn't worked out as good for me doing that. I'm sure I have caught a few, but it's just more or less them heads and those fillets, which I'm sure if the current's blowing or whatnot, it's probably going to look pretty close to the same. I'm not saying that you couldn't catch them, but I think that we're on the same page. It's got to be fresh, whether it be live or whether it be, and that is like we talked about the other night in ice water. It needs to be isolated from the water if you're going to have it dead, off the ice, in a bag or something like that, something to keep it off that water.
Yes, that I think that right there is key. That they get the bait has got to be fresh. Them flatheads just seem to be, they are just a different creature than them blue cats.
Their diet is just live fish. I mean, that's what they just love eating. I mean, you can't put one in a pond. Why? Because it eats all the fish in it. I mean, my dad lives on a pond right now. I can't throw any flatheads in here because he got bass and brim, and he wouldn't have it in a few weeks. They're not scavengers hitting that bottom. They're going to live off some live fish, or fresh fish for that matter.
Yes, sir. And
so you usually, I guess use when they die. You usually use the bigger shad. I know right around here in the Ohio River and the Owensboro area, man, them bigger ones. About the shad that we find now are probably so big, and really the only thing you can do is to try to use them live, or if they die, I've always cut the tail off and try to fillet them up just a little bit, but the bigger shad around here is just so crazy hard to find.
Yeah, and we have a technique. I may catch 2,000 shad, and I might keep 15 of them. And I'm over here on the front of the boat scooping them out, just throwing them out, And like I said, it matters to a lot of people will see a shad and it may be, 12 or 13 inches long. And my goodness, where are you going to use that at? A 5-pound flathead will try to eat that thing.
Right.
But what I'm trying to find as far as bait is anything from about 8 inches and up. The bigger the better. There's some areas I know there's like smaller flatheads, and I'll try to save smaller bait. But you got to think about this. If you've ever submerged a 10-inch shad versus a 5-inch shad in 30 foot of water, that 5-inch shad, if he's alive, he ain't moving down there. That 8-inch shad, he's got more stamina, more power. He's going to put off vibration down there as opposed to that 5-inch. So it's almost like you're not even fishing with live bait if you're using a 5-inch. If you're going to fish that 25 to 40 foot of water, you got to have some big live shad. And so you got to put in a little bit more work than just saying, oh, we got a bunch of 6-inchers. I hate to say it. You just got to find your place that you can catch them, sloughs and stuff like that. And like I said, it kind of compensates for maybe me missing a fish or maybe not throwing right there at it because they're putting off that vibration, that stress, and I feel like them fish can feel it. And they're going to be attracted to that bait that's moving, pretty crazy. And you may only have 10 or 15 good shad. That may be all you need. It may be all you need, really.
Let's ask one more question tonight. Current, no current, little current. What do you think about that?
I'm fine with no current unless it's hot and mild current. I really don't like a whole lot of current. I get into that filleting out baits, hooking them through the bottom of the eyeballs, and fishing a lot of curls and stuff like that, like fishing a lot of eddies and stuff. That's what we had to do in Gallatin a few years ago, me and my brother. We went up there, and the water was up 7 or 8 feet high. All the spots that I had fished 2 or 3 years before and done good were just covered up with trash and everything else. So we just started fishing the eddies. And we'd find a flathead here, find one there. We was just hit or miss. And we caught a 38-pound flathead in the middle of the river on a head.
I'm gonna. One of my things is if I'm looking for flatheads, I'm trying to get out of the. I don't want to be in the current. I want to get where I want to get on that inside that current seam. That's what I look for. I like to get right out of that current.
Yeah, it seems like when there's times that when there's mild current or little current, I can sit on the spot and catch a half dozen flatheads. It's just that when I'm fishing current, it doesn't feel like I can catch that half a dozen. It feels like 1 or 2 is all I'm getting, and that's it. And I have to move. They don't stack up as well in the eddies off that current for me, personally. So I rather, if I have my choice, like I said, I'd go mild or none at all.
Yeah.
So,
well, is there anything else you want to ask or add before we close the show out here tonight?
Stacy, there was a question. There's a couple questions here real quick. Do you use any type of rattles?
No, I've never used rattles. I'm not going to say they don't work.
Okay. Do you use any kind of demon dragons or anything like that?
No, never used anything like that.
I think Steve Stacy was asking what, and I think you already answered that. You like about a 10-foot medium rod?
Yeah, the biggest fish I ever caught was on a 6.5-foot medium action rod. It was 77 pounds.
Okay.
And so it's one of those things where I rather a soft tip rod than a very stiff tip rod. I'm using a 10-foot rod for several reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is I can toss that bait with that rod. I ain't got to sling it. I ain't got to compensate for being that far away. I can take the leverage off a 10-foot rod and just toss it out there, and that doesn't hurt the bait as much. Where you may sling a rod, you may tear that bait. If you got him hooked in the eyes or in the back, that hook may try to tear out of him.
Yeah. Days and your preference to catch big flatheads, days or night?
Morning.
There you go. So there's 2 or 3 people that asked that. So moon phase, have anything for you?
If they're hungry, they'll eat. I don't really worry about
that's me.
I think at the end of the day, you have to find out where their dinner table is and put it on there.
A
lot of people, and we talked about it, a while back as well. A lot of these people go over a tree and they may say, "Man, there's a big old tree down there. I don't see no fish in there." Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as good as depth finders are nowadays. You still can't separate the tree, that fish, and the bottom. And
I'll tell you,
right there in between there.
Joey, right now, I was thinking today, right now, crappie fishermen are going crazy. And I going through Facebook feeds and stuff, I see a lot of people catching flatheads. So that tells me if you're a crappie fisherman or you've crappie fished, you're looking for a big old nice tree that's going to be holding them crappie. So there's your answer. There's where that big flathead's going to be. Now in Kentucky, if you get caught using a crappie, they will hang you up by your toenails. But that's where them big catfish are at. Is all them crazy crappie are all over them trees and stuff. That's where I would particularly concentrate if I could find some trees, because odds are that's like you said, that's especially right now, man. They're probably just crazy right there after them crappie on them trees. So
I've made, it's funny. I've said the same thing. Me flathead fishing is just crappie fishing on a larger scale.
There.
I'm looking for the same thing they are, and I'm just fishing a little bit deeper than they are.
Yes, sir.
They're catching the fish at the top of the trees. I'm catching them at the bottom of the tree.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I do, if we're over at the river and we put in today and we happen to go up the river and we see a crappie fisherman that's over there fishing, and we come back 2 hours later and he's still at that same top, I reach up on my electronics and mark. And I'm like, they didn't stay there for 2 hours for nothing. They catch a crappie in that top. And when they leave, we're going to come back and we're going to throw some baits on that top and catch that flathead that's in there.
Hey, I got to throw this in there real quick. Did you see what Roger Dement said, Stacy?
No, I didn't see it.
He said, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to because I like it. I like Roger. I don't even really know him, but I like him. He said, game wardens are off for the next 3 weeks. so as a great show, great information, Joey. It's people are a gob of people on here appreciate you answering the questions and for the information.
Well,
yes, they do. Let's get ready to give this. Let's get this last giveaway, and I'm going to need another number between 1 and 7. So kick me out one of their Joey Pounders.
Oh, let's go 1.
I got you.
There's nothing wrong.
Any other questions right there, Joey? Y'all go ahead, and I'm going to get this.
Aaron Churchwell said that he was going to watch it later because he didn't want his live count on here in case he was the one that was going to surpass his live viewers. So he was going to watch it later on.
Aaron Churchwell's a talent. I'm just a little peon and whatnot. Aaron Churchwell's a talent, so you got to worry about me.
Yeah.
Something that, a few of these guys can try, a few tips. One is do something that you've never done. At least once a trip, try something that you haven't tried before. Try a different spot. Just try something different and see if it works. Maybe just using 2 hooks on a pole or something like that.
What size circle hook do you use?
I use a Team CatFish.
What? 8/0?
8/0, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. There you go. That's all the questions, Stacy, that I see.
I'm trying to get this name right here. I got it right here. I'm just trying to get it on my thing. Here it comes.
Mississippi River wing dikes or current seams with old wood.
Guys, Charlie King.
I love fishing the dikes.
There you go, Jason.
Guys, we're going to give away this. Tonight we're giving away this right here, snag stick. I had the opportunity to use this past week. This part of this is sort of a hard rubber, so it grips to your line, and it has some ends where your line just comes out, so you can just wrap it around here, pull your line out, and snatch it loose. Charlie King, you can contact. Let me pull up the banner right here, and I'm going to show you who to contact.
Congratulations.
You can get in touch with him. Contact Doug Vaughn with Ninja Anchors. Guys, this is a great product. And if you get hung in the top, you can just wrap your line around it real tight and just give it a good pop, and it just pops it loose. It does not damage your line. This is sort of a rubber type thing, so your line sort of grips in it. It does not slide on this part right here. and then you can just let it come through one of the eyes right there and take it and pull it. If you're fishing with mono, you may want to wrap it around your hand because that stuff's like a rubber band. And if you probably dropped it, it'll probably shoot out of there. So.
And I always say, if you're like me and you use 80-pound plus braid, you better put your purse down because you're gonna.
So y'all contact Doug Bond. He's on Facebook, Ninja Anchors, and he's got one here for you. So contact him. Guys, I want to close here tonight with this. I know we're in here in America, man, we're in pandemonium, chaos, and everything else is going on. And this is what that was just on my mind today, and I know it's probably something you've heard before, but I want to just read this to you tonight before we close. This was written by David, King David, and it's in Psalms chapter 23. And I want to share this story before I even share it because they asked in a class one time, they said, tomorrow we want y'all to come in and quote Psalms chapter 23. And well, you know, I don't know if y'all ever heard of Little Johnny, but Little Johnny's always into something, you know. And Little Johnny showed up the next day, and everybody come to the front, and Little Johnny stood up, and he says, they said, Johnny, it's your time to quote Psalms 23. And he says, the Lord is my shepherd, and that's really all I need to know. And I thought to myself how true it is. And it said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, thou comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemy. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I want to do this tonight before we close. I want to pray here on this show as we dismiss, if y'all don't mind. Lord, we come before you tonight in the mighty name of Jesus. We pray for the condition of our nation. We pray for our leaders, Lord. We pray, Lord, through the things that we're going through and the things that we're facing, Lord, that you will give our leaders godly wisdom. May the Spirit of God direct them in the decisions that they're making. And Father, I pray, God, for the families, Lord, the families that are tuned in with us here tonight. We pray a hedge of protection about them. And we declare your word, Lord, that you told us in Psalms chapter 91, God, that you would give your angels charge over us to protect us from any harm or danger or anything that would bring harm to us, Lord, that you would protect us from that. And we declare that tonight over our families and over our life in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. God bless y'all. Y'all have a great afternoon. And I don't know if we'll be here next week because we plan on being on the water. So stay tuned in with us. Watch for some live feeds, and maybe we'll catch a big one. And I want y'all to give Joey Pounders another hand here tonight. Thank y'all for being a part of the program.
Thank you, guys. Definitely appreciate it.